Hey guys, this is Comic and today I'm doing a review for Digimon Tri Part 2. So depending on how you watched it, if you watched on Crunchyroll, it is episode 5 through 8. And if you watched it in Japan, I think it came out like limited theaters, so it came out as a movie, just like Part 1. So let's start talking about this episode, but if you want to go check out my Part 1 review, I'll have that annotated. But with Part 2, I feel at first they slow things down a bit. It felt like the first two episodes were filler episodes until you actually watch the end of episode 8. But it's really focused on Mimi and Joe. Those are the two characters they focus on. And Mei, I guess, too, to introduce her more as a character and more as like a next included character as the Digi-Destined. So we get a little bit of her personality, but out of the older Digi-Destined, it's very much about Mimi and Joe. Joe not really wanting to be a Digi-Destined anymore and questioning why he's even been picked to be a Digi-Destined, and that really strains the relationship between him and his Digimon. And by the end of the episode 8, we really get to see why that's happened, and finally Joe realized this is the place I belong. And actually Kari is the one who explains to her, explained to him why he's a Digi-Destined and why it doesn't really matter that you were chosen, but it matters more about your partnership with your Digimon, who you obviously care about. And that's really shown in the conversation where Joe is like, yeah, I care for you, but I just don't want to fight anymore. Not with each other, just in general, fighting other Digimon. So that's something he doesn't want to do. And another thing with that is that he feels, because obviously he did this as a child, he wants to be an adult now. And he feels like being a Digi-Destined is part of his childhood. And I think he's realizing it's just a part of himself. It's not really have anything to do with his childhood. Even though it is part of his childhood, he could still grow up and be an adult and a Digi-Destined. I think that's something that we'll see balanced throughout hopefully the other parts also. But because of all this darkness in this storyline for him, he does get to see his Digimon have an ultimate evolution, which was cool. Or Digivolution. Evolution. And also forgot to mention earlier in my review, if I mentioned the American names for these characters, I watched this in dub when I grew up, so I'm going to stick with the American names, and also I'll talk about the experience of the sub for part 2, but yeah, so I'm going to be talking in the English names, because that's how I know the characters, so just a little disclaimer of that. Now moving on to Mimi, which is good about this show also is that a lot of them actually have the same names as their English dub, but going on to Mimi, she also had a really interesting arc, because she's learning she's a bit egotistical and she can't always have her way, and she never knew that about herself. She never knew that quality, and now she's learning to be herself, not change who she is. But at the same time, maybe just be more considerate of others, and I thought that was a cool storyline. First of all, because you're actually giving Mimi some storyline. I feel like Joe and Mimi are characters that never had too much big storylines. There was always Matt and Tai, and then Kari when her storyline came in, and even Sora, I would say, had bigger storylines. So it's nice to see these two characters that usually don't have big storylines be the really front and center of part 2. But going into Mimi's character, yeah, I like that part of the show and part of these episodes is that Mimi doesn't really change as a character, but it doesn't change her qualities. Like, she knows what her qualities are, but it doesn't mean she's a bad person by being egotistical. I kind of like that balance. And that also showed she had to explore a bit more of herself as a person to evolve her partnership with her Digimon. And we saw that in the end of the episode where her Digimon also ultimate evolved. And because in the end of this episode, yes, we have, again, the build-up between Mimi and Joe's story, but we also have this looming story of Ken returning. Yes, from Digimon Adventures 2. Why is he evil again? What's up his sleeves? And we find out that he took Mei's Digimon because he's the one that's kind of causing that Digimon is the one that's causing all this darkness and infection. And then we kind of see Leomon die again, so that was an interesting ending. But everyone's shocked, and I love the reactions of everyone's, all the Digi-Destined, and also that woman, the adult woman. I thought it was interesting because she was shocked, but then she smiled. I feel like that might be a foreshadowing of something. Maybe she's part of this evil plot too. But if you look at it, it's really quick. She has this shocked face, and then she has this little smile in the end. So maybe she's, again, part of all this. Maybe that's why she left the Digimon there. So that was an interesting little part. But yeah, Ken's return, I was surprised by that. I didn't expect to have a lot of the Digimon Adventures 2 story. I thought they just wouldn't really touch upon it. But I liked how Kari reacted to it. Obviously, she had to. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that scene. And we'll see what happens with Ken. Like, why is he evil again? I don't know, but I'm curious. So I will say a lot of that plot actually happens in episode 8. So it takes a little while to get there, but I think the aftermath with Joe and Mimi, it was worth it. And now I'm hoping we get to see that with the other characters. Really get to see their darkness and their fears, and hopefully their Digimon evolve even more. And I think we're seeing that with Tai and Matt a bit in this episode, that their friendship is not exactly where they want it to be, and that's affecting their Digimon also. Kari get a little bit of that in this episode. So yeah, we'll have TK and Sora. They didn't really have much in this episode, which is a shame. Hopefully in the other parts we'll see a little bit more from them also. But the animation was really good in this part also. Very bright, because I will say some of the episodes feel fillerish, but again, you understand why they do it, because it's more building characters, which I think filler episodes can do. But I think the first episode, or the 5th episode, which is the first episode of this part, the whole sauna thing probably wasn't needed. I guess it was to build Mei Mei's character a bit more, which is weird that her name's Mei Mei, and we have Mimi also, so that's gonna totally confuse me. But it does build up her character and her personality, but I thought they could have done that in a different way. I don't know if we needed that episode as much as the others, but still a good part. I think it really builds up towards the end, and what I really like about Digimon Tri is obviously they're a little bit more adult in this part, and a little bit more mature, but it's also that they're really digging deep into these characters, not just the Digimon, but also, again, the Digi-Destined, and I think that's really interesting that we get to see that, and we're really getting to the heart of souls. You definitely feel the pain that, especially what Joe feels, that there was between him and his Digimon, that was a really cool scene where you see his Digimon cry, and the tears are on the ground. So you definitely feel a lot more emotion in this part, because I think they're definitely aiming at the adult demographic who grew up with the show more than, hey, kids, watch this. So you could tell that they're doing that, and I thought this was a pretty good part. Again, there's some basic problems. They probably could have cut it a little bit more. Maybe they prolonged some of the Mimi and Joe stuff, but it was great to see more from their character, new evolutions, and we're, I guess, learning a little bit more about the infection and digging deeper into that plot. Last thing I want to talk about, I actually forgot to mention this with Mimi. I thought a really interesting scene was when she wanted to do everything in her power to make the world love Digimon, because what I like about this this part in this Digimon Tri too is that they're actually in the real world, and Digimon Adventures did that a little bit more than the other Digimon series, and that's why I kind of like Adventures so much. Seeing the Digimon in the real world, and it's a lot of the real world in Digimon Tri, but I like that Mimi was kind of selfish in that way by saying, oh, I want everyone to love my Digimon and Digimon in general, but she ends up hurting someone in the end. So hopefully in the next couple of parts we'll also see more of the world reacting to Digimon, because we saw it a little bit in this part, but I would really like to see that more, and kind of see maybe the Digi-Destined shown a little bit more media, because obviously Digimon's very much about the digital age, so it'd be interesting to see how media perceives the Digi-Destined, because we got a little glimpse of that also with the students in Mimi's class saying, oh, that's the girl from the news. So I want more scenes like that to really show that urgency with showing Digimon in the world and seeing how people react to it. So again, overall, I thought this was a pretty good part. I'm a little torn which one I liked more. Part 1 had a lot more setup here. I think we're, especially in episode 8, we're digging deeper into the plot, but still there are those pacing problems. But overall, definitely watch it if you're a Digimon fan, and I'm really excited for part 3, which I'm pretty sure was announced to be released in September, which of course I'll be reviewing when that comes out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.